The primary source of liturgy and the closest thing we have in the Church of England to a statement of faith is the Book of Common Prayer of 1662. This version that we know was introduced under Charles II, 2 years after the restoration of the monarchy, after Britain was a republic for 11 years under Oliver Cromwell. But in fact, it wasn't written then. It was merely a revision of a series of prayer books that had gone before, going back just over a century to the first English prayer book of 1549, produced by Thomas Cranmer at the Reformation. This was produced under Edward VI after the death of Henry VIII. And Cranmer was very clever. He knew exactly what he was doing and what he wanted to achieve. And he introduced common prayer because it contains prayers and liturgy for every day for all people in common. And it was written in the common language so that everybody could understand it. Up until that time, of course, all liturgical services were in Latin. It was to be used then by all people in common, in a language they could understand in common. Cranmer knew what he was doing because he wanted people to pray every day, morning and evening. Not only did he want them to pray, but he wanted them to pray in a language they could understand. Now, it might sound a bit strange to us, but in Cranmer's day, that was quite revolutionary. To come and pray to God in your own language. More than that, Cranmer wanted the prayers to be understandable and memorizable. There is beauty in the language, and that is no mistake, because Cranmer wanted people to be able to learn and to remember them, especially as many people could not read or write. See, Cranmer recognised the power of a whole nation praying together every day, morning and evening. He recognised that if a nation did that, then it would be changed, and it would certainly be blessed. But there's more to the Book of Common Prayer than prayers and liturgy. Cranmer wanted people to read and learn the Scriptures. And in the Book of Common Prayer, there is a table of readings to be used in all the services. It's set out very clearly, so everybody knows exactly what they should be reading and when. Listen to this. If you follow that table of readings, you will read through the Old Testament and the New Testament twice every year. But that's not all. You'll also read through the book of Psalms every month. That is quite something, isn't it? It's clear that above all else, Cranmer wanted people to know the Bible. He recognised that knowing the Bible would lead people to God and would bind a nation in unity as the Bible is allowed to shape our minds and our thinking. Now, to date, we've largely lost this discipline of Bible reading. I know that's a bold statement, but I still believe it's true. When I was a teenager, many years ago, in the youth group, we had youth group leaders who encouraged us to read through the Bible every year. And I'm pleased to say a number of us did that a number of times. But reading the Bible through once in a year is nothing like reading the Old Testament, the New Testament twice, and then the Psalms all through every month. But that's what Cranmer expected people to do. Why put so much emphasis then on the Psalms? Well, Cranmer recognised that the Psalms lead us into the very heart of God. Some have gone as far as to say that in the Psalms we're led into the mind of Christ himself. There's richness in the Psalms. There is a psalm for every occasion in life, for every emotion we might feel, from joy and elation to sadness and despair, for every circumstance, from the birth of a child to the loss of a loved one. Yet we so easily neglect them compared to a previous generation. Now, I recognise that perhaps reading 150 Psalms every month is too much for us to start with. I think I would struggle with that. But let me put this challenge to you. How about one psalm per day? Read it in the morning and live with it throughout the day. Let it mould your thinking and your attitudes. Now, of course, we'll have to split some of the longer psalms. Psalm 119 is 176 verses long, the longest chapter in the Bible. That can easily be split. Take a few days to read that. But we could also combine some of the shorter psalms. Psalm 117, for example, has only 2 verses. It's the shortest chapter in the Bible. But if we read a psalm per day, allowing for a day off every now and again, perhaps if we're not well or we're on holiday or we're not in a position to read the psalm, if we did that, we would read through all the psalms roughly twice a year. I guarantee, I don't wish to sound like a salesman, but I guarantee that would change you. How can I make that guarantee? Well, the Psalms tell us. Psalm 1 says this: "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night." The word law there is shorthand for the scriptures. And of course, blessed is the man includes women as well. And what does the psalmist say will be the result of delighting in the law of the Lord and meditating on it day and night? He's like a tree planted by streams of water that yields his fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all he does, he prospers. Quite a contrast with other folk, because the psalmist goes on, "The wicked are not so, but are like the chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish." Now, how about taking me up on this challenge, and let's see what a difference the Lord makes in us.